James Carter, ambassador of Earth, stepped into his guest quarters on Velcara Prime, utterly drained. Negotiating interstellar trade agreements was exhausting enough, but trying to decipher alien courtship customs? Borderline impossible. The Velcarans had more romance laws than Earth had swear words, and somehow he had managed to offend at least 3 delegates today by accidentally implying he was interested in their mothers. Peeling off his ceremonial robe, he let out a groan, rubbing his temple. His translator device had been malfunctioning all day, so he'd spent half the meeting whacking it with the nearest tool, his trusty wrench, until it started working again. The damn thing was still in his hand. He tossed it onto the bed, too tired to care, and collapsed beside it in nothing but his boxers. The bed was absurdly soft. He barely had time to appreciate it before sleep dragged him under. Minutes later, the chamber door slid open. Lady Zelia, daughter of the Velcaran king, stepped inside, her deep violet skin shimmering under the dim light. She had intended only to observe the human, a quick assessment to determine whether he was as primitive as the nobles whispered. Instead, her golden eyes landed on the tool resting beside him on the bed. Her breath caught. A proposal. A bold, unquestionable, public marriage proposal. Zelia's stomach twisted, her mind racing. The human male had declared his intent to claim her, openly, brazenly, without hesitation. The sheer audacity. Her fingers curled into a fist. Any other noblewoman might have recoiled in horror, but Zelia? She smirked. This was interesting. A challenge. And Velcaran law was absolute. A proposal of this kind, if witnessed, could not be retracted without causing dishonor. Which meant her father would be delighted. She turned to the servant behind her, a pale-skinned Velcaran elder who had served her family for decades. The woman's sharp eyes flickered from the wrench to James's unconscious form before widening in shock. "By the stars," the elder gasped. "A human consort? This is unprecedented." Zelia's smirk deepened. "Spread the word. The ambassador has chosen his bride." The elder hesitated. "Does he know?" Zelia shrugged. "Does it matter?" The news spread like wildfire. Within an hour, the royal court was in chaos. By sunrise, wedding plans were already in motion. And James Carter? Blissfully unaware that his nap had just signed his life away. James woke to the distant hum of voices. Lots of them. His brain fought through the fog of sleep, but something felt off. His bed was way too comfortable, the air smelled like exotic spices, and... Wait! Why did it sound like a party was happening inside his room? His eyes cracked open. Velcarans. Dozens of them. James shot up, nearly flinging himself off the bed. His heart pounded as his gaze darted around the lavishly decorated chamber. Streamers, glowing floral arrangements, a freaking orchestra tuning their instruments. "The hell?" His voice came out groggy, confused. "Did I? Am I dreaming? Or is this an intervention? Awake at last, beloved." The voice sent a full-body shiver down his spine. Smooth, sultry, dangerous. He turned, and there she was. Zelia stood at the foot of his bed, dressed in shimmering gold, her violet skin glowing under the soft light. She looked smug. Too smug. James swallowed. Hi? A murmur spread through the crowd at his words. He heard a cheer. Someone in the back wept tears of joy. Zelia folded her arms. "You don't recognize the ceremony?" James's gut clenched. "Ceremony? The sacred joining ritual," she purred. "You've chosen me as your mate, James Carter." His brain stalled. Blue screened. Reboot failed. He blinked. "I did what now?" Zelia's golden eyes flickered toward the bed. He followed her gaze and saw it. The wrench. His wrench. lying exactly where he'd left it. James stared, looked at her, back at the wrench. "No," he muttered. "No. No, no, no." Zelia's smirk widened. "Oh, yes." James ran a hand down his face. "Listen, there's been a horrible misunderstanding." "Is there?" Zelia's expression was a masterpiece of feigned innocence. "You presented the tool of claiming, in full view of witnesses. As per Valcaran law, we are now bound." James let out a choked laugh. You're joking. You have to be joking." A booming voice interrupted. "He has proven his devotion." James turned. Oh, great. A 7-foot-tall Valcaran elder stood at the front of the crowd, arms raised in triumph. "By the stars," the elder bellowed, "this human is a warrior of passion. See how he cast his tool before the gods, unafraid. See how he slumbers, confident in his claim. He is worthy of the Princess of Valcara." The crowd erupted into cheers. James's soul left his body. Wait! 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 He forced a grin, hands raised. "Can we just backtrack a second? There's no claiming happening here. That's just my wrench." A collective gasp. Zelia placed a hand on her hip. "Do you deny your own proposal?" "Yes." More gasps. A grandmother fainted. The elder scowled. "You dare disgrace the princess?" James groaned. "I didn't propose to anyone. I just fell asleep with a wrench, okay?" Zelia hummed. "So you were subconsciously offering it?" "Oh my, no." The elder shook his head. "Denial in the face of love. Tragic. Not tragic. Insane." James threw up his hands. "I'm not marrying anyone." Silence. Then Zelia took a step closer. "James." Her voice was sweet. Too sweet. "If you reject me, you risk causing an intergalactic scandal. Your entire planet could suffer." His stomach dropped. "Come again?" She leaned in, whispering. "Valcaran pride is a fragile thing, human. A rejected princess? A public dishonor?" Her lips curled. "There would be consequences." James stared at her, horrified. The elder placed a massive hand on his shoulder. "Welcome to the royal family, son." James wished for death. Jane sat on the edge of the massive ceremonial platform, head in his hands, trying not to hyperventilate. The wedding was happening. His wedding. To a gorgeous, but utterly terrifying alien princess. And the worst part? Nobody would listen to him. Valcaran priests chanted, nobles wept with joy, and an old man was carving his name into a giant stone slab, permanently recording his great sacrifice. James clenched his fists. This was madness. Zelia, meanwhile, lounged beside him, looking infuriatingly pleased. "You seem tense," she murmured. James's eye twitched. "Gee, wonder why?" She smirked. "You could relax and enjoy it." "Oh, sure. Because getting legally abducted into an accidental marriage is every guy's fantasy." Zelia chuckled. "I hear human males love commitment." "Yeah, when they agree to it." Her fingers brushed his arm. "MMM. But wouldn't it be fun?" James stiffened. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. He was not about to entertain whatever seductive mind game she was playing. He needed a way out. Desperately. A loud gong interrupted his thoughts. The final stage of the ceremony was beginning. A high priest in ornate robes stepped forward, arms raised. "James Carter, human ambassador, do you accept this union?" James opened his mouth. "Yes." The word wasn't his. His head snapped toward Zelia. She had answered for him. James gawked. "What?" The priest smiled. "Then it is done." "No, no, no." The entire room exploded into cheers. A procession of dancers entered, the music swelled, and James was dragged to his feet by an overjoyed group of nobles. Zelia laughed, looping her arm through his. "Welcome to marriage, beloved." James wanted to scream. Jane sat motionless in the grand ceremonial chamber, shell-shocked. The words kept ringing in his head. Married? He was married. To an alien. To Zelia. The reception was in full swing. Velcarans clinked their glasses, musicians played something alarmingly seductive, and somewhere in the crowd, an elder was already drafting songs of his legendary conquest. James took a slow, deep breath. "All right," he muttered under his breath. "Think. There's gotta be a way out." Zelia, seated beside him, casually popped a grape into her mouth, watching him with undisguised amusement. "Still resisting?" she teased. James whipped toward her. "Of course I'm resisting. This is insane," she smirked. "You seem quite popular." "Popular? I was paraded around like a damn trophy." Zelia tilted her head. "You do make a fine trophy." James groaned. "Look, can we talk about this rationally? You're a princess. I'm just some guy who fell asleep with a wrench. A very symbolic wrench." James gritted his teeth. "A wrench. That means nothing." Zelia hummed, tracing a finger along her goblet. "The crowd seems to disagree." "Yeah, well, the crowd is wrong." That is a problem," she admitted. "A public rejection might cause unrest. I suppose we could consummate the union instead?" James choked. "What?" She arched a brow. "It would solidify your commitment." He nearly flipped the damn table. "I am not committed." Zelia laughed, low and delighted. James inhaled sharply. Okay. Let's say, hypothetically, I refuse to, perform. What happens then?" She tapped her chin. Let's see. You be considered. What's the human word?" She snapped her fingers. "Impotent." James's soul left his body. "The noble houses would pity me, of course," Zelia continued, enjoying this far too much. "I'd be forced to say my poor human groom simply couldn't rise to the occasion." James saw it happening. The whispers, the rumors, the headlines. "Earth's first ambassador a total disappointment in bed." Oh, hell no. Zelia leaned in, dangerously close. "But if you'd rather prove them wrong." James felt heat creep up his neck. "You're evil," she smiled. "And yet you married me." James groaned into his hands. "This is my worst nightmare." Zelia chuckled, pressing closer. "Oh, beloved, give it a night. You might just change your mind." James lay flat on the ridiculously oversized ceremonial bed, staring at the intricately carved ceiling, contemplating every single life choice that had led to this disastrous moment. Zelia, meanwhile, was calmly undressing. Not in a rushed, seductive way. No. She was taking her time, peeling off the elaborate layers of her royal attire like this was just another evening. James's brain shut down. What are you doing?" His voice cracked. Zelia gave him a look. "Getting ready for bed." "Yeah, I can see that." He forced himself to stare at the ceiling. "I mean, why?" "Because I sleep naked." James died. Zelia smirked. "You seem tense, husband." James bolted upright. "Do not call me that." She tilted her head. "Would you prefer mate?" "No." "Consort?" "Stop." Zelia shrugged, sliding onto the bed. "Fine. I'll just call you beloved instead." James's entire face burned. "I will strangle you." She chuckled. "Kinky. But you should know, I'd bite back." James whimpered. Zelia stretched, lounging comfortably. "You're taking this very seriously." James snapped toward her. "Because it's my life. I was supposed to be negotiating trade agreements, not accidentally proposing. Zelia propped her head on her hand. So dramatic. Humans always expect to control everything. James scoffed. And Velcarans don't? Oh, we do, she said sweetly. I'm controlling you right now. James groaned, flopping back onto the bed. I hate you. You'll love me by morning. James prayed for a lightning strike. Silence stretched between them. Then, her tail flicked against his leg. James froze. What was that? Zelia blinked innocently. What? Your tail. Oh, she purred. That. It curled around his ankle. James nearly launched off the bed. Nope. Zelia laughed. Relax, beloved. James yanked at his hair. This is a nightmare. Zelia hummed. You know, there's one way to end this. He eyed her warily. And that is? She smirked. If you truly don't want me, all you have to do is prove it. James hesitated. What do you mean? She leaned in, voice sultry. Kiss me. Right now. And if you feel nothing, I'll call off the marriage. James's brain short-circuited. She was bluffing. She had to be bluffing. Right? Zelia's eyes glowed in the dim light, lips curved in that infuriatingly confident smile. James's heart pounded. This was insane. He should just say no. Push her away. So why the hell was he leaning in? James stopped inches from Zelia's face, heart pounding like a war drum. She didn't move. Didn't blink. Just watched him with those mischievous, knowing eyes. This was a trap. A beautiful, dangerous trap. And yet, his body refused to back away. He swallowed hard. This doesn't prove anything. Zelia's lips curved. Then kiss me, and it won't matter. James's breath hitched. He should pull away. Any sane man would. But he didn't. Zelia's tail curled tighter around his leg. She wasn't rushing him. Just waiting, patient, confident, like she already knew what he'd choose. And that pissed him off. James wasn't about to let her win. He closed the distance. Their lips met, soft but electric, and the moment stretched into something undeniable. Zelia sighed into him, fingers threading through his hair. Heat shot down his spine. James clenched his fists. This wasn't part of the plan. He was supposed to prove he felt nothing. So why did her taste ruin him? Zelia pulled back, lips kiss-bruised and infuriatingly smug. Well, she murmured. James was breathless. I hate you. Her grin was wicked. No, you don't. James ran a hand over his face. He was so screwed. Zelia stretched, arching her back like a satisfied predator. That was nice. James glared at the ceiling. I'm going to die here, she hummed. At least you'll die satisfied, he groaned. I swear to God. A loud knock interrupted him. Ambassador, a voice bellowed. The elders wish to confirm the consummation of your bond. James choked. They what? Zelia bit back a laugh. It's tradition. This planet is insane. The doors creaked open. James panicked. Zelia's only response? She yanked the sheets over them, dragging him down. The last thing he saw before the cover swallowed him whole was her devilish smirk. James hit the mattress hard, tangled in silk sheets, and a whole lot of regret. Zelia didn't stop grinning. Outside the door, the royal attendants waited. James could hear them, whispering, expecting, probably taking notes. This is insane, he hissed. Zelia propped herself up on one elbow. You keep saying that, beloved. Because it is? James shoved a hand through his hair. They seriously expect us to. Zelia's tail brushed his chest. James went rigid. Her smirk widened. Oh, don't tell me you're shy. His eye twitched. This woman would be the death of him. Just, he exhaled. There's gotta be a way out of this. Zelia's expression turned mock thoughtful. Well, technically, they don't need to see anything. They just need proof that something happened. James blinked. What does that mean? She shrugged. They expect a mess. James stared. A mess. Zelia nodded. A convincing mess. James rubbed his temples. You have got to be kidding me. I never kid about bodily fluids. He gagged. Why are you like this? She chuckled, rolling off the bed. Stay here. James did not trust that. What are you doing? Fixing our little problem. Zelia disappeared into an adjoining room. James debated making a run for it. She returned moments later, holding a ceremonial-looking bowl filled with something thick and pearlescent. James felt his soul leave his body. I don't want to ask. Zelia swirled the bowl's contents. It's just an alchemical mixture. It mimics certain fluids. James wanted to scream. This is my life now, he muttered. This is who I am. Zelia just winked. Now, be a dear and help me spread it around. James did, in fact, scream.